Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Dutchmen Discussions for episode number 9. I'm Mike Freeman, Director of Athletic Communications, and today's guest is LVC head football coach Joe Buehler. We'll be discussing the MAC's recent decision to suspend athletics until January, and we'll talk about recruiting, how Coach Buehler has been keeping in contact with his team, and we'll take a look back to last season and discuss the positives that Coach Buehler took away. So we hope you enjoy head LVC football coach Joe Buehler. Okay, we are now joined by head LVC football coach Joe Buehler. Joe, it's great to see you. Really appreciate you coming on. How's everything been going? How have you been throughout, since March?
First of all, thanks for having me, Mike. Things have been interesting. I think at this point in my life, this has been the most interesting year as far as the pandemic and everything that's gone on in our country. And it's definitely been a learning experience for me. And I've found, though, that there are some silver linings. We've had some great family time opportunities that we wouldn't have had at our house. And so that's been exciting. But all in all, it's been tough for sure for people, especially I think for our young people.
Yeah, like you said, we're the same way. Athletic communications, the family time, it's very different, not working from home. And I don't know if my dog doesn't like me being here anymore or if she loves it. I'm not really sure which one it is. But so let's just start with the most recent news. The MAC came out and said that they're suspending the fall till at least January. So, it's a difficult decision, obviously, and it affects a lot of people, and it's very tough on everybody. So how do you communicate that with the team, and what do you say to them, if
Sure.
anything?
Well, we've been in contact with our team throughout the whole process. And I also want to apologize. Everyone's going to hear some background noise. We have an addition being put onto our house that was supposed to be finished the end of June, but due to the pandemic, it got shut down for 6 weeks. And so I've, in the background, as I've worked throughout the pandemic, I've heard a lot of hammering, saws, a lot of things going on. And so, but you could hear a little of that in the background, so I do apologize. As far as our team, we've been very upfront with them that we knew that this was a possibility, and they saw other leagues starting to cancel out. And so I know that we all held out hope. It was one of those things we all knew realistically there was a strong chance this was the way it was going to happen. And yet when it happened, it hurt and it stung. But our team is resilient. Our motto has always been find a way. And that's what we've always done, on the field, off the field. You deal with things as they happen. And, I know sometimes you hear some of those, the next man up and things along those lines. But for us, it's always been about finding a way to get through things and finding a way to still achieve success. And that's what our program will do. Right now we're on track to come back on campus. There will be small group workouts and practices. There will be weight room opportunities. It's been one of my concerns as a coach, to be honest, that a lot of my players have their own gyms at home and they're able to do things, but not everybody. And so some guys were going to come to camp, maybe not physically ready for what was going to happen. And obviously, you don't want anyone to get hurt in those situations. So I think it'll be great for us that we'll have the fall to really work on our strength training and work on our skill-based things as far as football is concerned, with the idea being that we're going to hopefully do something in the spring and get to put pads on in the spring. And won't that be neat that we'll get a chance to maybe play football in the spring and then turn around and play again in the fall, a little bit like the Division I schools do. So that's kind of exciting, I think, for our kids as well. I worry a little bit. I'm trying to have individual meetings with each of my seniors between now and August 24th when they report back. I want to have just to be sure what they want to do, how they want to take this. Do they want to be able to reserve a year of eligibility for next fall, or are they going to move on in May? So a lot of guys have different. I think each player will be on an individualized decision on that. Freshman-wise, we're trying to make sure those guys stay connected with us. I mean, because normally this would be their first time really coming onto campus in August as part of the football team, and so we really need to build those connections. It'll be a little different than what you'd have in the past when you'd come in on early in August and guys, we'd have team building opportunities where the team would really gel together. So we do have to face that. But I'm excited about the kids we recruited. We recruited really good young men, quality human beings.
That's great. And you mentioned, at the very least, they're going to get to practice, in small groups, which is awesome. I just want to be able to go out and even just, soak up a practice of any kind, or, take some pictures or something, do something, that's not just sitting on a computer. And I think they're the same way. I think any sort of, instruction you guys can give, and, any opportunity that they can get to get out on the field is a plus at this point.
Fortunately, what they're learning, I think, about this disease is that you're a lot safer outside than inside with people. And so, I think we're going to be able to get some of those opportunities again in smaller groups and in safe settings. And that's the most important thing, that we keep our players, our coaches, our athletic trainers, our cafeteria workers, everybody, to keep everybody safe as we can be, and to try to keep the risk levels as low as possible. Then that's really ultimately why the presidents made the decision they made. And one of the things I was really impressed with, Mike, with the presidents was they talked about if we would take up all that testing in order for us to play, what about those people that were high risk that really needed those tests? What if we took those tests away from them? And boy, that impacted me. I hadn't thought about it from that viewpoint. And I thought, yeah, our presidents are making the right choice, and they're showing great compassion for the rest of our society and our neighborhoods. And so, really excited about that they did that they they took the time to think about others, which not just our sports programs, which that's something we try to teach our players, is to we're strong athletes, and we have an opportunity when we do to help others that are less fortunate. So I think they made the right choice, Mike, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. That's something I didn't think about either. How has recruiting changed at all for you guys, ever since March?
I think our young coaches are doing great because they're very savvy with the Zooms and the WebExes and the FaceTiming and all the things that go with it. For the old man, that's it's been a challenge for me. I've been sending a lot of emails, and I have done a couple of phone conversations. I've done a couple Zoom meetings with parents and players. I think I'm getting better with it, but for sure, it's definitely interesting. The one thing that's happened for the class of 2021 is we've gotten the best start we've ever had on recruiting the current junior class that are heading into their senior year. We've never been this far along. We've got a great pool of top students, top players, and we're really excited. Obviously the goal is how can we get them on our campus, and we're already having some there are twilight tours going on through admissions. We've had a lot of our prospects have come on those. We've had a couple come during the day on individual one-on-one tours. Had a chance to meet with them there. So, but obviously game day visits were always a big part of our recruiting, and we won't have that this fall. But I predict that we'll end up probably getting our class a lot earlier than we normally would. I think we'll have a lot of players will know what they want to do by the new year.
Good. That's, glad to hear that you guys, doesn't sound like you guys have missed a beat, which is good. It's just, I've talked to other coaches on these too, and they said, around the same things, that, they can, prospective student athletes have more time now. So they have more time to be recruited, more time to work out, safely.
And they're available. The other thing about it is, in part of recruiting, especially as time has gone on and younger people don't always set up their voicemails and things like that. And so trying to get in touch with people, but right now people are available, which is really nice. And, I know for me in the spring, without us having spring football, it really gave me, recruiting and talking to our current team, those were really the two things that I was able to do. And so, I'm sure other coaches are feeling that same way, that what a great head start.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to kind of switch gears to last season. So you picked up 3 wins, and you had, a couple of narrow defeats that were, you guys were in it the whole time. So can you kind of talk about last year and, what positives are you going to bring to next season?
Sure. So, I mean, really, it's been 2 years, Mike, that we've lost some really tight football games. And so last year, the start of our season, we were 3-3, and really all three of our losses that we had to start in the beginning of that season were all winnable football games. That we had opportunities in the fourth quarter, and one of them obviously went multiple overtimes. And then we hit. So it's tricky because we really should have had more wins at that 6-game point, because then that's when we hit playing Del Val and Stevenson back to back, which is that's a bear as far as physical football. And so we hit those 2 games, and frankly we didn't play well, especially against Del Val. Stevenson, I thought we played a little better, but they were also very talented. And then Lycoming came to town, and Lycoming got healthy, and they are always a physical team. So we faced 3 really physical teams in a row. When I say physical, there's finesse football, and then there's punch in the mouth football. And we try to play that more punch in the mouth football, as you know. That's been our style. We've been a little bit more, I think some people might call it vanilla, but I just call it physical. But that's also the way Del Val and Stevenson and certainly Lycoming play. And when Lycoming came to town, I thought we were ready to play them. I thought we were very evenly matched, and they really they kicked their fannies pretty good. And that was a shock to me. In my coaching career, it's probably one of the more shocking results of a football game for us. So we were 3-3, and then we got hit hard 3 straight times, and then we're playing Albright. And I thought we were the better football team, but you play a rivalry game and you forget about anything else. And especially because our rivalry game is the last game of the season. So you've got seniors playing in their final games on both sides of the field, and doesn't matter what your records are. All that stuff gets thrown out the window. And, we came out and gave up a real big play to start the game where we turned it over, and they got 6 points off of it, and we just didn't quite recover from it. The game ends with us throwing a ball into the end zone with a chance to win the football game, and gets knocked away from the receiver. That's a heck of a football game. So, yeah, I would say that we lost really 4 very close football games. But here's the thing I also will tell you. You have to win those close games. And we, for the last 2 seasons, we've lost a number of close games. And one of the things that we've got to become a little better at and a little more resilient is making plays after something goes wrong. And that's something we really challenged our kids through the off season as we've been on our off season workouts, not letting a bad play turn into a second bad play, and working at that from a positivity standpoint. And I do think, I think we've got the right leadership in our football team right now. One of the things I was so excited about this fall was our captains. I think we've got great captains, great chemistry, and now we just got to wait a little longer to see those guys perform together. But there is talent on this football team. We've got to replace a number of players from last year, especially on the offensive side of the ball. But defensively, we return a real good football team that I think we picked up some really good pieces in recruiting as well, and some younger players that have been chomping at the bit to get on the field. So really excited about where we are on defense. And I think, I know we've got some skill guys on offense that can make big plays happen for us. We've got speed, we've got talent. So we have some work to do up front on the offensive line. But again, best part of our recruiting class, I think, was the volume and talent that we got in the offensive line area. So maybe getting a chance to work with those guys through the fall before we hit the season in the spring, maybe that's a silver lining for us too.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned Albright. I was going to mention that. You guys have had so many battles throughout the years, and this fall was supposed to be the 100th meeting between LBC and Albright, and now that gets pushed to spring. So how has that rivalry been throughout your years playing at LBC and coaching?
Sure. Well, for me as a player, I will tell you that the most memorable thing that I was involved in was when we beat Albright and the March on Kreiderheim. When I played at Lebanon Valley College, when I got there, we were a really bad football team. We went 0-10 my freshman year, and they hadn't beaten Albright in a long time. And when we beat them, that March, that was unbelievable. Just every student. I mean, it was hundreds of students. And then when we got back as coaches, and the first time we did it, I got to see those guys that live out what I got to do. That's a neat experience. And knowing how special that is as a coach makes you want to win that game that much more for your players, so that they get a chance to experience what that's like to march on Kreiderheim and ask for that day off. And I know it's a tradition that some people look at and they think, oh, that's just a silly little thing. But the great thing about college sports are the traditions, and they're there. You see them, at the high levels of Division I on TV and how big those games are, right? The Brown Jug game and all, Michigan State, some of those games and some of the things that go into those games with the traditions. And we have some of those at LVC, and it's what makes playing Dutchman football even that much more special.
Yeah, the first time I saw the March on Kreiderheim, I didn't really know what to expect. And then, just people start to gather by the football field, and then all of a sudden there's just this huge wave of people walking across the bridge up to Kreiderheim, asking the president to have the day before Thanksgiving off from class. And it's cool. It's, to the, athletic administrators, the football coaches, the fans, the parents, student athletes, it's, it's more than just a march on Kreiderheim. It's, people look forward to it. I think it's pretty special.
Well, not every student is a football fan, and that's okay. But one thing every student's in favor of is an extra day off, so that all of a sudden you get some fans. And I can remember as a player in my march, I mean, there were people that had never spoken to me before hugging me and thanking me, and I mean, it makes you feel pretty good to know you did something good like that.
Yeah, it's great. I think that's something that everybody can kind of get behind. Well, hey, Joe, I want to thank you for coming on. It's good to talk with you. We haven't talked in a little while. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer, and, I'll hopefully be around the office next month, and we'll see you then.
Mike, one thing for sure, we're gonna get through this thing, and sports will be back, and LVC is going to thrive as it always has. And it's a very special, I tell people all the time, LVC is such a special place, and we're going to get back to it. I know we will, and I thank you for including me here in the conversations. And anytime, I'd love to do it. I've got time on my hands, so anytime you want to talk, I'm available. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Thank you to Coach Buehler for joining us on episode 9 of the Dutchmen Discussions, and thanks to everybody for tuning in. We hope you tune in to our next episode. I hope everybody stays safe, and go Dutchmen.